got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Pinat. All the lights are currently lit here on track. And it is go, go, go!
Contact between the Mercedes teammates.
Denoso with a crafty maneuver up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Welcome to PSGL, to PCF2, and to a very exciting night. We've kept the smart shirt on because it is potentially a championship sealing night. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to go trackside for the Italian Grand Prix for Monza. It is round 10 of 12, and of course I am joined by Omi in the commentary box. How are you doing, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Absolutely amazing to be here, doing very well. Could see a champion crowned by the end of today, as you've mentioned. While PSGL PCF2 has been brilliant, it's been one of the best seasons we have seen of PCF2. We've had one man who has been consistent all the way through at the top, and his name is Julian Klaffenbach, and it could be his night today. But we've then a very long race with lots of strategies and lots of action to come until we work out whether he is the champion or not.
Of course, we have the standings on screen right now, and 83 points to Klaffenbach's name, with Halliday in second at 55. Now remember, the bespoke point system that PSGL runs, unique to the league, means that with the current standings, if Halliday finishes 4th or lower and Klaffenbach wins tonight, he has the championship. The dominance that has been on display from Klaffenbach, the consistency between rounds, is almost unparalleled, and we have seen nothing short of fireworks out on that track all season long. We're going to see that continue tonight as we head around Monza, and you can see the break right now. Just as we get the drivers out on their outlaps, it's 5.8 kilometers, it's 11 turns, it's the temple of speed itself, the flying shoe, the Italian Spirit. It's going to be Monza, and I am certainly looking forward to that. But enough for that now. We're going to waste zero time, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk a bit more about the implications for the championship. But now, it's qualifying. And first ahead of them all, it's going to be Joris Krozen. Looks like we've lost Omi, so we're going to hold the fort at least for now. So it's going to be a unique challenge. Of course, you've got Curva Grande, you've got the Reggio, you've got the Lesmo 1 and 2 and Ascari, along with Parabolica, which Krozen is rounding out now to finish his installation lap. And now it is pedal to the metal, down the start-finish straight, easily surpassing 200 miles an hour before we come up to the first corner. Just making our way up, just braking ahead of the 50-meter board. Heavy lock coming from the Shark driver, of course still running the multiplayer cars, and as we come through Curva Grande, keeps it committed to that inside line, minimizing as much of the circuit as he can. Now, very nicely done through the chicane, a little bit of bumping up on the sausage curve, but does keep the car restrained and keeps it together. Lesmo 1 now, a little bit of scrubbing as they get the nose in and let the car ride its way out. So particularly maybe rear heavy aero balance, as you can see it's stabilised after a heavy initial lock here from Krozen. Maybe that's the driving style he tends to prefer, especially out here on Monza. And looking through here, it's Ascari, it's tight to the left, tight to the right, and then to the left again. Solid line coming through for Krozen. Camera's not being the most cooperative, but we're on board now. Final shots here as we come through into Parabolica, particularly strict track limits. But you peel out, step on that throttle, and then curve back in, close as you can to the inside line. Krozen with the first lap on this field, it's an 18.1.
Krozen trying to bounce back after having his 5-race point streak broken last time out at Spa. He's currently at the top of the timing page. Alves going up into second, then it's Camel Sartre in third position. Also will be looking to try and bounce back as the times come all the way to the end. Tiger Hardy currently in 7th position for the man currently 5th in the championship. So it's Krozen, then it's Lukumski, then it's Nelson Alves. We're currently watching Parodi going to P12 with a 1 minute 18.578, as you can see on screen right now. So we've had 13 lap times come on the board. All of these drivers will be looking to build upon all of these times. Marcus Soriano is about to start his lap. So is our winner from last time out, Angelo. Of course, brilliant stuff from Angelo. Still in the lead of the PCF3 standings. That, of course, will change most likely in these 3 races. Of course, PCF3 just having their race here at Monza. They'll also, of course, have a final 2 round as well. But brilliant to see Angelo here in PCF2 taking that win last time out, and let's see what he's going to be able to do this time around at Monza. Julian Klaffenbach just trying to end this season in style and take the championship already when we have 2 races still to go after this one. He's currently in P6 though. He's behind Leoland, Camel Sartre, Nelson Alves, Lukumski, and the first man who came across the line to set a lap is still the man at the top of the timing sheets when most of the drivers complete run 1.
Rosen, of course, being the driver to watch here with that strong qualifying lap, absolutely dominating the second sector. Clafferbot got a good lap with the first sector, but dropped a lot of time in sectors 2 and 3. And now we're seeing a lot of cars make their way back into the pit lane. Soriano, Souza, and Diotenzio are looking like, I say, they are going to be a little bit late to the party in terms of setting their first lap. Soriano and Diotenzio in particular being ones who unfortunately did invalidate on their initial run, so they're just waiting to get into the pit lane. And we have got a few other cars who are setting themselves up. We've got Tope, for instance, hot pink multiplayer car, making the most of that artistic freedom, and we are going to see them very soon start the next set of runs with 12.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, Tope only been on the podium once so far this season, a DNF last time out as well. So let's see how Tope is going to be able to get on this evening here at Monza's Day Festival. Begin a lap and head down the iconic pit straight, heading towards the Rettifilio chicane as well, with 12 minutes on the clock to go. A hard braking zone, such a huge overtaking opportunity in the race, and they're all going to be trying to make some late dive bombs, trying to catch their rivals out, but when you leave the Rettifilio here in qualifying, it's foot to the floor all the way through the Curva Grande, and then heading down to the second chicane for Tope. We'll get to see what the first sector time is like. It's a 26.011 for Tope, and then they're going to be trying to keep the lap clean through the two Lismos that are coming up. Lismo 1, first of all, and they carry some incredible speed through here. Don't run too wide or you could lose your lap due to an invalidation. Same applies to Lismo 2, and then it's foot to the floor once again. DRS open as we make our way down towards the Ascari chicane.
Bit of skittishness coming from Tope, coming out of Lesmo too, but they keep the reins on it as we head now into Ascari. Going deep onto the apex through turn 8 and 9, and then peeling out slowly through turn 10. Not too much drama or fuss there from Tope, looking like a very good Sector 3 after an initial wobble at the end of Sector 2. Now coming into Parabolica, deep in the apex, stepping in early and then sort of peeling themselves away from that outside edge, making sure they don't invalidate. With a good run, it's going to be 7th on the board for Tope. We've got a couple of other cars also making their way down. So we have, I believe, Yeltsin, who is also going to be one of the ones who has yet to set a time on that field. But here we go. We're going to stick on board with Harvey Cohen. So Lund, as many others, are all on their outlaps now. So you've got the main field, but then you have some drivers who are kind of breaking up the formation a little bit. Cohen, with a solid run, puts themselves into 8th place. So what is Yeltsin going to do as they come up to the line and doing similar? Only P13.315. That's going to be second half of the grid, and some major work to do as Sousa is going to be in P16, and many other cars are making their way round as we speak and starting their laps.
Run 2 getting underway then, so we'll be able to see whether Lukumski or Alves or someone even lower down will be able to find a response to Krozen's lap time. 10 minutes to go on the clock. It's all going to go by very, very quickly for these drivers, and it's going to be laps at the limit, so cannot wait to see who's going to take the 1 point for pole that is available here in PSGL, of course, in addition for this season. Second place in the championship, Jan Halliday doing everything he can to try keep the championship alive, while it might not be a realistic shot as well, unless something really goes wrong for Julian Klappenbach. He definitely still wants to stay in the mix, because anything can happen in PSGL, as Krozen has increased his advantage at the front of the field to 1 minute 17.904, as Halliday now is about to go down to the Ascari chicane.
First to break the 117 barrier, that's Krozen there, setting an initial statement. Fellow RAG driver is going to be, of course, championship leader Klaffenbach, and looks like they're having a little bit of fun up there. Say Klaffenbach, of course, starting his main lap just as Krozen finishes, but all eyes are on Halliday. They are the linchpin in this championship equation. Remember what we said at the start of qualifying: 4th or lower, and the championship is a lockout. Even if they get 4th or lower, it's going to be a tough fight, because Halliday, even to stand a chance with that 4th or lower, would have to get every single possible point. That's not just the win, that's fastest lap and pole point. And that's not even considering if it does come to a tie, the countback that could be at play. Remember, 3 first places and 2 second places coming in for Klaffenbach. It's a mighty tough act to follow. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like Klaffenbach's had the best luck in this first half of qualifying. They have an invalidation on run 2. Halliday's got .071, and many other drivers are looking to keep that pressure up as the run goes on. So Alves was, of course, a driver pushing hard, and they got a .009. Tycho Hardy being the second driver to get into the 17s with a .982, and that is looking quite like an interesting, well, I'll say quite an interesting mix-up.
It definitely is as well. And Klaffenbach, while he may not be having the qualifying that he wanted, that's exactly what we saw in Spa, not only in the first half, but all the way through the qualifying session. And then it was a drive all the way to second place. Could have been first had the race gone slightly different as well. So he's a driver who's always put himself in the mix, no matter what qualifying position he's had. He's always been able to fight his way up the field and always be in contention, minimizing those bad days, even at circuits he may not be as strong as compared to some of the others, as Liam Stevens out onto the circuit as well. The driver currently third in the standings, points in every single race, and points in every single race that he's finished, but of course Silverstone, where he retired as well. So it's been a brilliant end to the season for Liam Stevens, who's had a best result of third for him as well. So he's a driver who's been consistent and is putting himself third in the standings as well, showing how consistency is definitely key here in championship like PSGL. And he'll be hoping that he is able to end the season with a win at some point. That is always satisfying for a driver, so that's what his goal will definitely be as well. And there's plenty of opportunities with all the chaos and action that we've seen so far this season in PSGL. It could be anyone's race by the end of the contest. But Liam Stevens, first of all, looking for a good qualifying position, and he's got 6 minutes and 30 seconds to improve from P14.
Stevens being that testament to consistency and a driver that you can always depend on race to race. They may not have the flashiest finishes, but you know that they're going to bring home those points and build up that bank. So by the time we get to this stage in the season, you have that healthy amount of points in your back pocket and a bit of a safety net compared to some of the rest of the drivers who maybe have those flashes of brilliance. But between that, it's inconsistent, it's below P10, or it's maybe even DNFs or DNSs. That's a worry for a lot of drivers and a lot of contenders who maybe want to make this championship. Stevens going through though, keeping it fairly smooth, fairly consistent, making sure that his lap is of minimal drama. It's a very smooth, controlled slide a little bit coming out of Lesmo 2. A little bit of smoke coming from that front left tyre as we head into Ascari, but again, looking like he's very controlled with this run. He's not making any sort of major sudden movements. He's keeping the reins firmly within that F124 car. And now coming through to Parabolica, a little bit of a wider arc than the competition, but again, emphasizing that smoothness as we come up to the line. It is an improvement. It's to P12. While it could have had a lot more points and time on the table, that is still a strong initial statement from Stevens that he is going to be able to at least keep things on the smooth and narrow. Meanwhile, Klaffenbach just set the fastest sector one time, 25.913. That is 5 milliseconds faster than the one and only Jan Halliday, who is currently sat and about to start their lap. Big slide coming from Klaffenbach as we head out of Lesmo 2, and you can tell he's pushing with 110% force by how much they are on the very edge of grip. It's 5 milliseconds down, it's every inch of curb, it's every single portion of that track. They are pushing to the absolute limit of what is legal by the stewards, and we're going to see that emphasized coming into Parabolica now very shortly, coming up to the 50-meter board and barely braking, letting the engine braking and the scrubbing of the tires do the majority of the work as we come to the line. Is there going to be a major improvement for Klaffenbach? It's all to play for in Sector 2 in particular. That is second. That is the front row with a .949 and the fourth driver to get into the magic of 117.
Brilliant stuff from Julian Klaffenbach, able to move up to second position, close to Crozen as well. So it's great to see the timing page being closest. Camel Stoutra now goes to the front of the field. Camel Stoutra has been on pole once so far this season, trying to now make it 2, and he's currently in P1 as Jan Halliday about to come across the line as well as he makes his way through the parabolica. He's going to bring it up to the gears, foot to the floor, charging for the line, and we'll see what he's going to be able to do from P8, improves to P4. So it is Camel Sutter, then it's going to be Crozen, Klaffenbach, Halliday, and Tycho Hardy, the top 5, with 3 minutes and just under 30 seconds to go on the clock now.
That's seriously impressive. They've got just 17 milliseconds splitting Klaffenbach and Halliday on that timing board. So the championship rivals really are locked horns. They are at major odds with each other. And a lot of this race is going to be full-on battle. It's going to be electric. The scenes that we are about to see, I think, are going to be nothing short of mesmerizing. We have 3 minutes left to go, which means that we have one major run left from all of these drivers, and you can see they're all trying to rush to the pit lane to make sure that those runs are confirmed. Leo Lund, though, a strong qualifying, at least so far, from the Veloce Academy driver, putting in some good work, had a very strong initial start to quali with that first lap, making quite the statement to the field, and looks like Monza is going to be one of their stronger runs, as they are consistently lapping quite quickly between run to run.
Yeah, they absolutely are as well, as we currently right on board with Leo Lund, currently in 7th position, but that will surely be under threat. With drivers coming back onto the circuit. Here is one of them, Nelson now. So drivers starting to head back out for their final run when the track is going to be at its best, and they're all going to be charging for the 1 point for pole position that is going to be available. Let's see who is going to be able to get it. Nelson now finding himself near the front in run 1. Let's see whether he can return back there when it matters in run 3 as well, as he is currently warming up those tires as he makes his way through Lismo 2 now.
You see, going for, as I say, a little bit of burn there as well. We don't really see the fuel save tactics and the fuel burn strategy like we have done in previous iterations. But we did see him sort of pounding the rev limiter a little bit there to try and burn off some excess fuel. Make sure that this is the run. This is the one that we commit to for Alves. They are going to be sort of weaving back and forth. Lund does retire out, though. 0.993 is going to be their best, and 7th is going to be their best position. Statura also retiring, showing a high amount of confidence in that lap. They are committed. They think that that lap is going to be the golden ticket. They did lose a bit of time in Sector 1 and Sector 3 because of competition, with both of those sectors being dominated by Klaffenbach. He did have a major loss in Sector 2 with that slide out of Lesmo 2, but we'll see if he can recover from that and make that true golden lap after all, because the theoretical best is a it's a 117.6.
Well, let's see. Is anyone going to be able to find that through the first part of the lap? Just down by 13 milliseconds is Nelson Alves. Is he going to be able to upgrade that slightly? Is he going to be able to improve that and get that lap back on track to an improvement? Through Lismo 2, he makes his way now, getting back on the power. And now DRS is going to be open for Nelson Alves, the driver in P8. He's going to be trying to charge for at least the top 5. That is what he is going to be hoping for. And by the time that we get onto the Ascari chicane, he is up by 51 milliseconds as well, to 51 thousandths of a second. Is he going to be able to keep that now?
We have a problem.
The parabolica.
Jan Halliday is not going to be making the start line. He left too late. He's not going to get another run, folks. Jan Halliday is out of chances. He left the pit lane too late. So now all hands are on deck for the rest of the field. Alves, no improvement. And unfortunate times for them. Godendorp is going to go into 5th place. A solid improvement there, which is going to certainly set themselves up well for the rest of the season. Crozen has an invalidation. Klaffenbach is giving it everything. Again, I say a bit of a slide coming out of Lesmo 2. They need to push hard. Tycho Hardy, 0.855, still not going to challenge the likes of Statura, who holds the pole position and was so confident they left with a couple of minutes to go. But it's 0.286 away, and it's an invalidation. Klaffenbach just taking a bit too much into Ascari. They are going to start at best from the second row as the rest of the field filters through and the standings come into full view. Top 8 is going to be, I think that is an invalidation from them as well, or at least they have abandoned this run. Klaffenbach is not going to be sealing it and making it home. D'Ortensio is the last full core lap, and even then they are just trying to rush their way back home. So easily up in the 130s. That is a full abandoned. That is unfortunate. The game having a moment. And that is going to be Stasherer taking pole position in the end, with Tycho Hardy matching them on the front row.
Well, Carol Starcher has been brilliant when it's come to qualifying, but let's hope is he finally able to also convert it into the race. A driver with a lot of pace, but let's see how he's going to get on in the race. But in qualifying, it was close between our top three as we look at the full results now.
So Stature and Hardy make the front row, with Crozen and Klaffenbach making row 2. Halliday and Godendorp in row 3, with Diotensio, Leolund, Alves and Pearson closing out your top 10. Then you have Tope, Mackey, Stevens, Parodi, Hjeldsen, Suriano, Cohen, Lekomsky, and then Rashan Jacobs and Felipe Salsa rounding out the rest of your field. I gotta say, after a showing like what the field can cook up. Curiously though, when we look at the best sector times, Klaffenbach still dominated Sector 1 and 3. Of all the valid laps, they had the best times in those sectors. And it was Staturer who gained over 3/10 to the rest of the competition, all in Sector 2. So it goes to show the variance in setups and the variance in strategy can have a massive effect on where you gain time.
Yep, absolutely. The Temple of Speed, of course. Lots of straights separated by quite a couple of chicanes as well, and hard braking zones. So that means plenty of overtaking opportunities, but the drivers still can be separated on a circuit like this. Every track, though, of course, here in PSGL has delivered us with a close qualifying session. Every race has been close as well, and this one is also going to be exactly the same. Lots on the line, lots of action to come, so it's going to be exciting to see how the race is going to play out when, of course, it does get underway.
Yep, and we will be taking a quick moment, folks. While the drivers are having their lobby restart, keep in mind we have to turn those slipstreams off and we have to turn off those collisions. While they're doing that, though, you can hear a bit of a word from our sponsor. Of course, support the people who support us, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. We'll be right back with you, folks. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, and of course, before we continue, it's worth mentioning that we are proud to have sponsors like GT Omega and Sim Racing Center making this all possible. So, of course, support the people who support us, whether you need any kind of rigs or it's setups and training from some of the best in the field. Head over, use code PSGL for a healthy discount at checkout, and they will sort you up with something nice. But let's talk what's at stake here. A reminder, folks, Klaffenbach is currently sat with 83 points, and Halliday is there with 55. Now, the big thing here is the kind of margins. The most you can get in a single race is 18 points, thanks to PSGL's unique scoring system. Now, with all of that being said, like we were saying in qualifying, 4th or lower and Halliday is out of points. The only way that we can get the points match is if Halliday is getting every single point for the last 2 rounds. And then even then, after doing a little bit of napkin math, they will lose on countback still. So really, they need a podium tonight. And they need to make sure that Klaffenbach does not get that podium if they want a fighting chance.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be incredible to see how today is going to play out. But a crucial day if Jan Halliday wants to be the PCF2 champion by the end of this season. It's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to need a bit of bad luck, or quite a bit of bad luck, from Julian Klavenbach's side as well. Which, of course, he had a retirement in which he got 17th and also a 16th in Spain and Japan. So he's a driver who's been in the points, who's been in the higher end of the points as well in most races so far this season. So it's going to take quite a bit of something, but definitely anything is possible when it comes to PSGL. But it will definitely need something mighty and some flawless performances from Jan Halliday.
Yeah, and we're going to see some mighty performances once more as we are going to get soon into the racing good and proper. We've had an amazing qualifying session. We have much to discuss and much to be excited for. We have now completed the lobby restart and a of what we are getting into as the drivers set up their grids. Of course, it's 5.8 kilometers of pure speed. Key overtaking points is going to be the first chicane. It's going to be turns 4 and 5, and then you may see drivers sizing up a little bit into Ascari, but the ends of the DRS zones are going to be major flashpoints.
It definitely is. There's going to be plenty of overtaking going on, especially down to the Retifilia chicane, which opens up the lap, of course. And then also we can see some battling through the next couple of corners, the second chicane as well. And then if drivers are feeling brave into Lismo 1, it's going to be a huge risk. But I think I could see some of these drivers attempting it if they are desperate for a move as well. The Ascari chicane and, of course, the Parabolica, which ends around this circuit. Lots of battery usage to be had for these drivers, but they also need to save some for those critical moments of the race, like those last laps and those critical moments when it comes to the races here at PSGL as well.
Yeah, and keep in mind, folks, we are coming to the final 3 runs of the season. So we're about to start round 10 here at Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. And then you have Losail at Qatar. And then finally Interlagos to round off the season in Brazil. It's coming to an end, folks. And with everything that has transpired throughout season 37, we've had some amazing highs. We've had some low lows for some drivers. And we have, above all else, had a brilliant season of racing. So we're going to keep that momentum up heading into the final rounds. And I am personally very excited to see how tonight goes down, because as we've seen from some of the numbers, this could be a championship finale if Klaffenbach plays his cards right.
Definitely a phenomenal spectacle, amazing racing, but of course in our minds we do have to keep an eye on the championship with Julian Klaffenbach, Jan Halliday, Liam Stevens also in there as well. So a lot more at play than usual, which it is going to be quite a lot to cover. There is always something going on in a PSGL PC F2 race, but that's the amazing thing that we love about it. And the 27 laps of Monza, I'm sure, will definitely deliver. The drivers are about to ready up, and then they'll get their setups, they'll get all of their strategies all sorted for the race as well. Keeping your front wing intact is going to be crucial for these drivers, especially on the opening lap. It can get very close down to the Retifilia chicane when they're all trying to gain quite a few places. If you aren't able to gain a couple of places on the opening lap, you could find yourself stuck behind in a bit of a DRS train, and it can mean that it is going to be harder to pass. So if you do want to try gain a couple of places, lap 1 is definitely an opportunity, but also it's a huge risk as well, as it could cause damage to your front wing, and it could mean that it could completely ruin your strategy and your race, which it can only be recovered by a safety car, which is definitely possible, but you always want to put yourselves in the best possible situation, fighting near the front and at the top.
You're going to have to keep your space. The drivers are going to have to be acutely aware of their surroundings heading through the first 2 laps, really, as they are going to be fighting a lot for position, particularly that first chicane, and I would say maybe a little bit of diciness that will be mostly settled by Lesmo 2, but we'll of course have to wait and see for that, folks. We're about to go trackside, folks, and with everything that has transpired through the season, let us know your favourite moments. Let us know who you are waiting to see take the crowning shot and who is going to be the one to watch in tonight's race. Of course, we have our championship contenders, but there are plenty of great talents on this field. And with that being said, we are about to go trackside, folks. We are here the Grand Prix, and we are going to be seeing some absolutely electric racing. And looks like the game is having a bit of a moment, so bear with us for 1 second while we get that resolved. And there we go. So there we are. We are trackside. Drivers are just confirming their setups, and it does look like we are seeing at least an overcast race.
An overcast race, at least to start with. Whatever happens after that, it's going to be unknown, and it's going to be another thing that we will need to work out throughout this contest. So overcast to start with, at least. And soon we'll be looking to those 5 red lights. Of course, the drivers will be able to see what the weather is later on in the race, so they can plan their strategies around it if needed. And we're about to get underway here at Monza.
There's 5 red lights. The track is hot here for the Italian Grand Prix, round 10 of PCF2, and we are immediately away. It's looking like a great getaway from the green car of Klaffenbach. What an amazing start. Tycho Hardy is going to be pushing as well and going to be usurping Statura all the way down immediately to 4th place. Oh, a little bit of a hiccup going on there, it seems. Not quite sure what happened, but we are seeing major shuffles, and looks like Statura using the quantum dimension to teleport a little bit back and forth. I believe that is just connection instability, but it is going to put the other drivers a bit on their toes and maybe making them a little bit nervous to go for moves.
Well, Camel Statura, it seemed like he got a poor launch, but that was just a game having its little moment there. But Julian Klavenbach into P3 going wheel to wheel with Prozen as well, so it's Statura. And then it is, oh, off the road goes Statura. That might be the game having a moment once again. Let's see if he is put back to
Nope, that's for real. He's down. Oh no, he's back up. What? What is happening?
We're having to work this out. We don't know whether it's for real or not, but Tycho Hardy, it seems like he's right now in 2nd place. Camel Statura is in the lead from what we can tell at the moment. Hard one to call, but what we can tell you is Julian Klavenbach is in P3, Cozen is in P4, and they're battling for further positions with Kai Pearson just ahead of Riley McKay.
Well, we're going to have to, of course, watch the wild card that is Statura for the time being, but we are seeing some shuffles around the field. Tycho Hardy being that initial setter. It could be a bit of desync. We don't really know. We'll, of course, have to monitor and keep our ears to the ground on that one. Important thing is, we are seeing plenty of scuffles around the mid-pack, or at least drivers trying to settle into a bit of relative safety and comfort, as we have had a relatively tame start. We haven't seen any major drama. We saw a couple of cars go 2 wide, 3 wide in some places, but nobody's had any major flashpoints as of yet. We have a couple of cars who are trying to tee up some potential moves. We have Lukomsky, Kjeldsen, and a couple of backmarkers trading. Let's see what on board with none other than Rishan, as they are trying to go toe-to-toe with Felipe Sousa. Cohen is going to spot the opportunity and go double and try and make it into a sneaky P18 contact out of turn 5. There's going to be quite a bit of fighting at this bottom end of the pack for sure, but not to be outdone. Looks like Godendorp is trying to close that gap all the same to Krozen, but that sea of green, 2, 3, 4, they're all running the same livery. They're all running in that same pack, and Jan Halliday is breathing down the neck of this very keen-looking driver in P5.
Absolutely. Angela's going to get a chance to get past Halliday, who's also looking for it on Klaffenbach as well. Over the line we go then to go on to the 3rd lap of this one so far. Angelo looking about the move. Also, it's not going to be the only one. Frozen up alongside Julian Klaffenbach. Down to the braking zone we go. That's wide for Klaffenbach. Is that going to be the position? It is going to be the position for Frozen as they get on the power. Then it's going to be Godendorp, then Angelo ahead of Jan Halliday. Leo Lund also trying to attack on those medium compound of tyres versus the hards of Jan Halliday as we get on the brakes once again for the 2nd chicane then, and it is still going to be, you can see them all making their way through towards Lismo 2 in the background. Tope looking for the move, Halliday looking for it as well on Leo Lund. So it's going to be London 7th, Halliday in 8th, and then Tope who will be the next one to try go on the attack on Halliday, who is on those hards, so losing a little bit at this moment. So is Nelson Els along with Rishan Jacobs. Those 3 on the hards, everyone else on the mediums in this one.
The alternate strategy is going to prove a little bit controversial for some, but it looks like they are going to try and eke it out, try and be a bit of an obstruction on track, and then get the push later on in the session. Tope is not going to take this one lying down, though. Very close to making contact, and I believe barely tapped the front corner of their car on the back of Jan Halliday's tyre. They're going to be knocking at the door, and they're going to be taking it through Parabolica, leveraging that early advantage, but Halliday is still going to be keeping that close proximity. They're not going to lose any major time as far as this field is concerned, and right now that's what Halliday is banking on. Let the field race hard, let them burn each other out, and then while he's had a relatively quiet race, and oh, big concertina effect! Something big has happened. That is Godendorp dropping like a stone as several contacts happen within that first chicane.
Absolute chaos down at the first chicane. The action though, the battling will all continue as we run down to now the 2nd chicane as well. but that was such a close moment as they all got on the brakes, and as you mentioned, a bit of a Constantino effect, meaning that some drivers have lost a bit of their front wing. All happened very quickly down at the Retterfield again as we watch Julian Klavenbach trying to put the pressure on Crozen.
Well, right now, you look at Klaffenbach, who's cleared more than a second off to Leo Lund. So the top four can essentially run free. And now you can see all three of the team in green, they are going to be contesting each other for the on-track space. They may be all part of R8G, but it looks like there's no love lost when it comes to PCF2 right now, as Klaffenbach is going to be putting immense amount of pressure on Crozen. They are going to be closing up to the back, and Tycho Hardy is going to be trying to mount a move on Staturer in order to ensure their dominance. But you can see, just as where they think they're getting close, Staturer jumps ahead by a few tenths, and they cannot really read or predict Staturer's movements. They are jumping back and forth, and it's not an ideal scene whatsoever for them.
Yeah, not ideal indeed. We don't know when the move is coming about as well for him, as we ride on board with Leo Lund being passed by Angelo as we run down the straight as well. And also Halliday is, as there we go, side by side for the lead, or at least we believe it is side by side for the lead, and that is going to be Hardy getting through. Crozen also getting through as well. Camel Starcher on the grass momentarily in P3, now dropping to P4. So Tycho Hardy able to move up into P1. Camel Starcher down to 4th position, sliding all over the place. So yeah, it seems like he's struggling. Might possibly be the game again. We'll need to work that one out, but you can definitely see a huge opportunity for Angelo, who's moving through, and Camel Starcher propelled back into P1 in the contest. So he's all fine at this moment.
Oh, you'd be quite mistaken, Omi. He's simply driving fourth dimensionally. That's all that's happening here. It's just a little bit of tactics. They're playing chess. The rest of the field is apparently playing checkers, or apparently doesn't exist, as they magically shed a front right wing. And Tycho Hardy is going to be pushing, regardless of the unstable situation, to make a bit of a charge for the front of the field. Crozen is going to go side by side simultaneously, and they are going to be pushing hard. Staturer is going to retire out of the race, and now it is going to be a much more stable and realistic situation. I think Staturer experiencing the desync themselves and opting to take themselves out of the equation, at least for this race, while there's such an unstable connection going on. That leaves R8G, P1, P2, P3, Crozen, Hardy, Klaffenbach. They all take the top steps, with Halliday, the next challenger, down in P7. D'Ortenzio, Tope, and Leo Lund make that middle interim gap, and there is a little bit of a spacing between the racers as we start to see the DRS taper away from P17 and teeter on the edge in some places in the mid-pack.
Yeah, disappointment that once again for Camel Starcher, lots of pace. The result in the race won't be able to show for it. It will be disappointing for him to have these issues in the race where he started from pole position. As we take a look at some of the battling further back, and they head down to the parabolic, about to rotate the car through and make their way down the start-finish straight. And let's see who's going to be using some of the battery. Rishan Jacobs looking close to move on Kai Pearson as we're going to come across the line. Meanwhile, side by side we go for the lead, and it's Tycho Hardy to the inside. Crozen trying to hang on, but he is going to back out of it. So Tycho Hardy takes the race lead. We're battling for 5th position as well, and that is going to be Leo Lund who's getting there ahead of Tope, who's also losing out to Jan Halliday, who is pulling to the outside line. Side by side we run through Cara Grande, and it's going to be the position for Jan Halliday up to P6. Tope now in 7th place as they're going to get on the brakes, but we've got a change now for the lead. Hardy now P1, Crozen in 2nd, and Julian Klavenbach still in P3.
Well, Halliday is doing well to push on those hard tyres. They're keeping in contention with this field while being on an inferior compound, and that is going to pay such dividends when it comes to the crossover and the pit window. Everyone else is going to have to play that gamble at the exact same time. And remember, with these multiplayer cars, you don't know for certain who is your pit mate, I should say. You don't know who you're going to be going up alongside, as we saw in some cases with the PCF1. They had a bit of an issue where some drivers ended up double stacking unintentionally. It's going to be quite a toss-up, as so many of the medium cars are going to go in at the same time, and they are going to be rolling the dice. Halliday, being one of 3 drivers on hards, is going to circumvent that risk.
Crazy battling at the front, continuing as we have Cohen and Daniel all diving it into the pit lane. More changing coming in. It's Frozen, then Klaffenbach up to second position. It got close when they went down to the Ascari chicane as well, and it continues to get close between these two drivers, putting on a show at this moment on lap number 8 out of 27 here at Monza. And then Angelo, Leo Lines all just sitting in behind waiting for their opportunity, but it is still going to be a very close moment between Parodi and Riley McKay. They're getting very close to going side by side as well, as Angelo and Leo Lund were battling for 4th position, and you can see that it continues down the straight. Jan Halliday now trying to get involved as well. That could get risky as we go down to the Ascari chicane. It's going to be Leo Lund who is just going to be in P5, then Halliday in 6th, then Tope in 7th position. It is getting feisty wherever we look, whether it's at the front, whether it's in the mid-pack or at the back of the field.
Halliday is going to be weighing up his options. He's going to be keeping his resources on tap, not pushing too hard unless absolutely necessary. Like, for instance, he's not going to make the move on Lund unless he knows that D'Ortenzio is well within range to be able to pull him along simultaneously. Gondendorp is going to get a 10-second penalty for just speeding in the pit lane, as many drivers are going to be popping their heads into the pit wall, likely for a change in wings, as some of them have got caught up in a little bit of an altercation throughout the field. We do see a bit of change around in the pit, likely due to such a thing, and we will see the drivers make full use of those new rubbers all the way to the end, most likely.
Yep, definitely. So pit stops coming in on lap number 9 for quite a few of these drivers as well, as we see Rishan Jacobs dip a time momentarily into the grass there, but able to continue pushing and going on the attack on the back of Mirko Suriano in this current DRS train. Talking about DRS trains, we join Jan Halliday currently in the middle of one in the battle that currently is for the race lead on the circuit, and he's the driver currently running in 6th position. Only one DNF so far this season. Other than that, he's been in the points all the way through, looking to continue that here tonight at Monza.
They're going to give it 110%, that's for sure. But it looks like Halliday has suffered a little bit of damage. They're going to see Leo Lund head into the pit lane alongside Tope, Parodi, Siriano. But yeah, it looks like Halliday is missing a front right end plate. So they are already operating at a disadvantage. And with the hard strategy, they can't just dip into the pit lane like so many of the other drivers are doing right now. It's not looking good for them. It's suddenly taken a bit of a dire turn. Although they are keeping good pace, they're still going to be far from optimal right now.
Yep, absolutely. Just being told Leo Lund also has got front wing damage as well, so that is going to play a factor in this one. So we've seen quite a bit of damage for some of these drivers, as we of course talked about in the build-up to the race, that keeping your nose clean is going to be critical in the race. Well, it could put you at a bit of a disadvantage, as Julian Klavenbach with DRS makes the move for the lead as he heads down to the Ascari chicane. He's now ahead of Croson, who's down to 2nd position.
Yeah, and now they are going to have control over the pit now. So now, Klavenbach, being in 1st place, has eliminated that double stack risk associated with this kind of scenario. So are they going to go in now? It looks like they are. Yes, they are going to be dipping into the pit lane alongside a few others, just about getting on the brakes in time. Hardy and D'Ortenzio are going to join them, which means Croson is going to re-inherit the lead, and Halliday is going to go into 2nd, just about retaining the DRS proximity for at least this next couple of laps or so.
Yep, still inside the 1 second there as well between our now top 2 on the road, as Klaffenbach, Taikardi, all of these drivers about to filter out back onto the circuit, as well as they will leave the pit lane having changed their tyres, and they will continue on and charge on in this race.
D'Ortenzio under a massive amount of pressure, and that's going to be with Liam Stevens alongside. They both go side by side through the first chicane. Curva Grande, it's going to be a bit of a wider line for Stevens, carries a bit more speed, locks in their position, heading into turns 4 and 5 there. So the matte black F1 car looking like an absolute stealth rocket right now, as they try to scythe their way through the field. Meanwhile, Tycho Hardy on the back of Klaffenbach having a little bit of a wobble through Lesmo 1, not quite able to keep the same proximity as they once had. Klaffenbach being 18.5 seconds out means they have not got the DRS to play with anymore. That is going to result in a severe pace reduction as Alves, Jacobs, Crozen and Halliday all remain at the top. Although Crozen is going to head into the pits now, and that is going to leave a couple of the hard runners who started. Halliday, Jacobs and Alves, they are all going to be in a pocket of their own as we head into the turnover point and about the halfway line of this race.
They are indeed, absolutely, as we look through the rest of the field as they all do battle down towards turn number 1, and Tycho Hardy looking for the move as we go into the first corner. We're watching though from Leo Lund. They're all staying in position as we get into the first turn. Lukumski looking for it on Tope, that is further back, but they're all maintaining position as we make our way through now. The Kerber Grande, Jan Halliday still in P1 on the circuit, and Rish and Jacob Nelson Alves both have got the DRS of each other. And then of course we get to our net race leaders of this one, all with a huge train of drivers behind as well. So it's always going to be a race that goes down to the checkered flag. That's what we love around Monza. Lots of ERS management needed for these drivers at this stage of the contest, and it will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see who has been able to save the ERS to its finest and have a lot of battery to play with when we get on to the 27th and final tour of this race as well.
Well, Alves is also having a bit of a problem with keeping their front wing fully together. They are simultaneously with Halliday missing their front right end plate and are going to be experiencing those same kinds of issues. Rishan is the one who has their car fully intact, and with that has a little bit more advantage to press, but regardless, Alves is going to take that overtake. Crozen, curiously, despite the slight overcut, lending them about a second's lead coming out of the pit lane, they are going to lose that through heating up those tyres, and that is going to result in both Hardy and Klaffenbach taking the positions from them and making Klaffenbach the net leader of this race. And we'll see where the top 3 hard runners are going to end up when they come into the pits at about lap 17 to 19.
Absolutely, that is what we are going to be looking to see as well. Godendorp under a bit of pressure. We're on board with Lukemski going the long way around, and he's also into the back momentarily of Godendorp. Side by side we run. Who's going to appear in front? It is going to be still wheel to wheel, as Tope is currently just ahead of a battle between Siriano and also Daniel as well. They're in 14th and 15th, so some crazy battling further back, as these guys don't have the DRS on our net leading group, and they're continuing to battle as we go through the Oscari chicane. Look how close they are as we make our way through the Oscari chicane. There is Tope trying to pull out, looking for a move. Cars all over the road as we head down to the parabolic. Are we about to go 4 wide? This could end in tears for all of them. 3 wide, and Tope going the long way around. That will be super wide, but he's kept his foot in as we run through the parabolica down towards the Retafia chicane now, and Tope's lost out a bit in speed and going to the outside line, trying to get the move done. It is going to be Lukumski who is making that move 4 wide momentarily. That is going to be ending in tears surely for these drivers. How are they all pointing in the right direction? It's going to be Lukumski in 10, then it's Peroni, then it's going to be Soriano still wheel to wheel with Daniel as they get on the power. Ahead we also have a scrap between Angelo and Liam Stevens as they were both battling. Daniel just behind Soriano, and then it's Cohen still looking for it on Tope. Outrageous battling all the way from the Oscari chicane down when they got on to lap number 14 to turn number 1.
P10 through to P16 is nothing but fireworks here on the racetrack, barely keeping the amount of spacing needed to keep everyone happy and everyone on that track. No track limits violations at all throughout that entire excursion. That's the wild thing to me. Nobody got a flag up during any of that sequence. So they were leaving the perfect amount of space for each other in order to get that running. Halliday is finally going to jump into the pits after 15 laps of hard runnings, and they are going to be jumping onto the medium tyre. Doesn't look like a front wing replacement for them though. I'm not sure if maybe that damage is purely visual as opposed to performance affecting. They didn't seem very affected by it, but that is going to leave them down in P9 or net P7 as they rejoin the field amongst the gaggle of cars that is behind. They're going to be in their own pocket, about 2 seconds either side. Not a good place to land at, considering you need the DRS to reel back in while you warm your tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. Now he's going to be going through the warm-up phase. Right now is Jan Halliday, as you mentioned, 2 seconds ahead, 2 seconds behind as well, but at least he's not in that crazy melee. Is that the fight, of course, for P10 as well, as now we're on board with Angelo, our winner from last time out, looking to do it once again at Monza. He's definitely going to need a little bit of chaos up ahead, which is definitely going to be a possibility. As we already seen, we weren't going 3 wide, we were going 4 wide, battling for P10. It can get that wild as well for the drivers battling for the lead. Currently it is for P3 as Soriano is getting past Pirelli. We're watching that battle now as well. Into the pit lane comes Rishan Jacobs as Nelson Alves does continue on for another lap. So it's going to be Jacobs who's dived into the pit lane, so it'll be interesting to see where he will filter out, and that will promote Julian Klavenbach up to second for now, and he will be waiting for the only driver yet to pit, Nelson Alves, to pit, and then he'll take over the race lead as well. Side by side we go. Here we go then with Tycho Hardy looking for the move. Also not the only one. Leo Lund trying to get to the inside. This is going to be very close as we battle over P3, getting on the power and taking the position. Leo Lund is going to be up to P4, so a net P3 in the race later on when Nelson Alves does dive it into the pit lane, but no longer RHG 1, 2, 3 as Leo Lund has got ahead of Crozen.
There's a strong surge from Lunds there, asserting their dominance for the position there and getting themselves into that net P3, is breaking up the established order and breaking into that major fight at the top end of the field. Halliday has got some time to make up meanwhile, but they are going to be remaining steadfast and letting their driving do the talking more than anything else. We'll see if they can close that gap as the race continues. And the drivers that were on the hards pitting earlier than I personally expected. I was going mostly off the cadence of the medium starters. Looks like you can take the mediums a lot more than maybe you once thought you can. That front wing damage, though, from Lund, I am getting confirmation on the telemetry, is going to prove a little bit problematic. Though they are quite hard wearing, the hards, only seeing about 15% wear right now on average, they are not going to be able to match, in some cases, the pace of the other fields, combined with that wing damage.
Another move for the lead incoming. It'll be interesting to look further back because Jan Halliday is getting swallowed. He had a 2-second advantage to that train as well, but he is found himself dropping behind Purdy and Soriano. Is that a moment for Felipe Souza dropping down the order? Felipe Souza, it seems like he's lost a bit of his end plate. He's had a bit of a moment down at the Retofilio chicane, so unfortunate for our PCF4 champion from last season. Right now in PCF2 hasn't had the best run, not on the podium so far this season, and it doesn't look like that is going to change. And he's had a moment at the beginning of lap number 17 as Jacobs gets past Topic.
We look at the timings as well between Alves and Klaffenbach. That is dropping like a stone. When we saw Jacobs and earlier Halliday coming in, that gap was looking at between 16 to 17 seconds, and now we're only down to 12 and counting. So Alves has a decision to make, and I think it would be the right call to get in on those tyres, but yet they continue. They press on. They are going to be losing major amounts of time here, and that is going to prove costly when it comes to the other side. And we're going to see once again a switch up for the lead, most likely, as Tycho is going to peek around the right side. Is Klaffenbach going to offer a meaningful challenge? No, but there is going to be a challenge slightly further back. London Crozen, they're going to make it potentially 3 wide, although they're going to make it 2 by 2 in the end by the time we get to the chicane. Minor contact between diffusers, a little bit of skirmishing coming out of the chicane, and Lund taking a bit of a slide to drop himself down into net P5 here. That's going to be not only a loss down to Crozen, but Diotensio is getting themselves involved. It's going to remain 2 and 3 wide. There's going to be a big shot of bravery coming through that chicane. Someone has to yield. It was Diotensio. Leo Lund gets himself back up into this major fight and is net P4.
Once again, moments of brinkmanship between these drivers when they made their way through the second chicane as well. And will it continue now as we make our way down towards Ascari? Leo Lund is going to be in the slipstream. Is anyone going to pull out and go for the move? Is anyone feeling brave at this stage? They're definitely feeling brave further back though, as Soriano has passed Parodi, Jacobs has passed Lukumski. That is going to be a slightly poor exit from Leo Lange, and you can see Angelo is pushing him through. He is basically bump drafting him down the straight, waiting for his opportunity when we make our way onto the start-finish straight here at Monza, and let's see whether he's going to be able to use and deploy some of that battery onto the straight we go. You can see he's already gaining before we open the DRS, already pulling alongside, and that is going to be the position gain for Angelo, who is going on the attack once more. It's getting close for the lead, but it's going to be Hardy versus Klaffenbach, with Hardy with the position and still trying to get through now. It's going to be Angelo who will be trying to attack our next top three in this race. Leo Lange still under pressure from Liam Stevens, and it's going to be some fascinating battling between these three drivers as well for 5th, 6th and 7th, and Stevens looking for the move as we go down to the second chicane.
Well, Hardy and Klaffenbach aren't really concerning themselves with who's at the lead right now, because they're more likely just setting up a pendulum between the two. They know that too much fighting is just going to drop them out of that front position. So they trade with each other on the start-finish straight. They regularly alternate the lead with minimal drama and minimal fuss, and they push each other along. When it comes to the final couple of laps, then maybe we'll see some proper skirmishing between the two as they fight to decide who comes out on top. But as things stand, they need to cooperate, they need to work together, and they are going to be asserting that dominance by doing just that. Crozen is going to get involved, but right now they are too busy trying to keep proximity from D'Ortenzio and Lund, who have been a thorn in their side for the past few laps. Though they are going to get drawing quite close. Are they going to be asserting for that move? We see a bit of drama behind as well. D'Ortenzio is going to be peeking to the right side, maybe going for the chicane. Not quite going to go for it. They are going to go to the other side though. Neat and tidy switchback as they come through turns 1 and 2. Very cleanly done and well executed from D'Ortenzio, but they're not quite going to get the exit, and that is going to cost them dearly through Curva Grande. That's going to be Crozen immediately reasserting himself with the exit speed, and as we come into turns 4 and 5, it's quite a clean and tidy retake for that position from the R8G driver. Further down the field, you're going to see much of the same drama. You're going to see a little bit of skirmish and a little bit of squabble. Halliday and Jacobs are going to be in very close proximity, with Jan Halliday really not having a good time, and he's going to be feeling the pressure immensely so. You remember, 4th or lower, and his championship drive is done. Klaffenbach is going to have it unless they finish slightly lower than first place. Those shift might give him a bit of a fighting chance, but it's still only going to be 6th or 7th at best that chance would afford. And Halliday is still all the way down at the bottom of the points paying positions. They'll be walking away with just 2 if they keep this up.
Absolutely, that will definitely be the case as well as we run down the straight. Here we go then with Liam Stevens trying to gain on Leo Lund, also looking for the move on Angelo. So who's going to be dishing out the overtakes? Going defensive to the inside, Leo Lund, but also going for the move himself. 3 wide we go, down to turn number 1, bit of contact made. Are they all going to be able to make their way through? That is going to be so close to contact. Angelo just hanging on to the car, and it means that it's a whole brawl on the exit, going through Jan Halliday momentarily. It's Halliday with 3 wide through the Curva Grande. That will surely mean that someone's going to have to back out of it, and it's going to be Angelo who's in 6th, Dennis in 7th, Jan Halliday. Is he going to be able to get by on Jacob? That's close to contact between all of them, but somehow they're all pointing in the right direction, but nearly ending in tears for a couple of those drivers in that battle. And it means now that they've lost the 2-second gap to our net top 3 in this race.
That is going to be a little bit optimistic coming from Lund, and that is what you get when you try to go 3 wide into that chicane. It's quite a bit of drama happening here on the circuit. We are lap 21 or 27, and there is a limited amount of time left in this race for Halliday to reclaw points, for the rest of the field to stabilise, and now is going to be that final crux, that final stand, and the countdown as the laps tick ever further down to 27. Halliday is currently net P6 and soon to be true P6 as Albers heads into the pits for a set of mediums. At this point though, I'm surprised they didn't go on the soft compound.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Once again, they're battling down to the braking zone, so he took it out long, but he decided to still go on those medium compound off tyres as well. So that is definitely an interesting call as Jan Halliday pushing his way through. We join a battle that is even closer between Parodi and Leo Lund, who is losing a position. Parodi able to get by, long way round, bit of wheel banging between those two drivers, but they were able to get to the second chicane with their cars in one piece still. Lap 22 of 27, heading into the final stages of this one now. We've got the battle for the lead, which is going to heat up more and more that we run through this race, and it's going to be Angelo battling for P4. Still, the race could change though if these guys are able to push themselves up towards the top three. It's going to be a hard task, but they'll need to try work together, and we're on board with Rishan Jacobs trying now to make a move of his own, and he'll be trying to attack Jan Halliday. As you mentioned, needs 4th or better, currently in P6, could be dropping down to P7.
Well, Halliday's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He's got Jacobs breathing down his neck. He's got Stevens 4/10 up the road. And unfortunately, that squabble between Hortensio, Stevens and Lund did result in them now being well and truly out of the DRS proximity of the 3 R8G drivers. Rishan is going to push for that top spot. Stevens is going to make a move on Hortensio. And this infighting is the last thing that Halliday needs. They need to close that gap. They need to get that proximity back to the front 4. Or the front 3, more accurately, as Stevens was caught up in all of that initial drama. They are just like the others, trying to make that breakaway and get caught up to the podium sitters. But look at that gap, 2.5 seconds. That is going to be quite the mountain to climb, especially when you consider that they are likely going to be thinking on the same page, having that DRS and working semi-cooperatively in this situation.
Absolutely. Felipe Sousa them getting past Nelson Alves. That is much more further back in the field. We are currently, though, focused on this train that is currently for 4th position as well. And it goes all the way down to P15, where we have Riley McKay, where we have Tope in P14, I should say, 8/10 behind Daniel, who runs in 13th. Once again, out of the Parabolica, getting close as they go onto the straight. So let's see who's going to be making the moves this time around. We could see a switch between our top 3. Hitting the front is Tycho Hardy now. Is Trozen also going to get the inside line? Is he also going to be heading through? No, and we're battling like crazy further back in the battle for 4th position, and in the end it's going to be Jacobs in 4th, Angelo, then Liam Stevens. That's how they have ended up when we made our way on the exit out of the Reticula chicane. So it's Jacobs ahead of Angelo, who is now trying to defend from Liam Stevens, who is looking close for a move, but they already know how badly it's ended so far at this second chicane, costing them a chance of battling for that win. So he's not going to try anything audacious. Laps though running out, lap 24 out of 27. We're well and truly in the final stages of this race. It is now critical for these drivers to start going on the attack if they find themselves slightly lower down.
Klavenbach has to get the win here. There's no ifs, buts, or certainly any coconuts. If they get anything lesser than a podium, the championship fight is alive. And I know that they want to wrap this up pretty early and pretty cleanly, so that they can have those last 2 races almost taking a bit of a victory lap. Bit of a trade from Hardy, but to be expected. Like we said, they're setting up almost that pendulum, that back and forth, and then when it comes to the end of the race, then we'll see the true fight for who wants to take the win out of the 3 R8G drivers. I think with these positions, this would still be a Klaffenbach lockout, because 7th isn't going to have enough points to close the deficit between the 2 races on a theoretical points count.
Yeah, absolutely. It seemed like in the background it ended badly for Lukumski there, the side-by-side that he was having in that train for 4th, and it means that he's dropped down to P14. We just saw it in the background of Schott when they were all battling their way through. So disappointment for him. We rejoin now Rishan Jacobs and his attempt to go on the attack, his attempt to go past as well. But can Julian Klavenbach wrap up this title on the top step of the podium? That will be interesting to see whether he's able to do it. It'll definitely be a tough fight all the way to the end of this race as Jacobs looking to attack, and we see Liam Stevens back out of the move. But you've got to be careful though, because if you do back out of the move, it could mean that you're under serious pressure from drivers behind who are desperate to go on the attack. And you can kind of see now that tactics are coming into play as we head into the Parabolica. That's going to get close, 3 wide. They're so close to making contact. Side by side we run between Marcos Soriano and Liam Stevens, and they're all over the road once again. A huge brawl as we go down the start-finish straight. It is still going to be Angelo who is trying to break the slipstream as the top 3 continue to battle it out amongst themselves. but further back, Angelo is just ahead of Suriano, who's getting to the apex first, ahead of Jan Halliday. Then it's Stevens, Parodi, and that is going to also be some good traction for Rishan Jacobs, who is the car pulling alongside Parodi. In the background, is Jacobs going to be able to keep their foot in? It seems like he is. Just slotted in behind. So Parodi in 8th, Jacobs in 9th, but tactics starting to come into play for these drivers in this battle of 4.
Major skirmishes happening as the battle for 4th continues. And as we come through the penultimate lap now, this could be curtains. This honestly could be curtains here. Many drivers are going to continue that fight for those much crucial points. And it could become as good as sealed for the top step. Notice how Klaverbock didn't go for the move, almost deliberately, last lap out. It's because they want to confirm it on this lap with no possible recourse. But saying that, a pretty worrying Ascari and some heavy pressure from Crozen could get in the way of that, as we are now half a second split between Hardy and Klaverbock heading into the final lap. Crozen is going to be that major thorn in the side here, and is going to be quite a big points gap. Not points gap, but time gap to overcome. So Klaffenbach trying to close as we go into the final laps. Crozen is not going to have any of it. There's going to be a major send on the left side there on Hardy. The gap is closed, but the position is not.
Absolutely, that is so close between all three of them as we make our way now through the Caravagrandes. There's going to be an attack from Crozen. We're on board with him. He's getting close to Julian Klavenbach. He's not going for anything at the moment. Not trying anything wild as we go down once again to the second chicane. We're battling further back though. Stevens trying to get ahead of Parodi. It's going to be an interesting scrap for P4 and also further back as well. That is close. That is super close between Jacobs and Stevens. Ziolon trying to move up to P9. He's going to be able to get there. He is going to be able to get to the inside as we go side by side to Lismo 2 between Harvey Cohen and Parodi. And it's Cohen is momentarily ahead. But here comes Crozen then on the attack of Julian Klavenbach.
I say the three are going to be in such close proximity. It really is going to be a mad dash to the line here between the three R8G drivers. They are within a quarter of a second of each other. This is the drivers goading each other on. This is them saying, what are you truly made of? Show me how much you want this championship. Show me that fight. It's a big slide at the end for Klapperbock. They're going to drop all the way to 3rd place. And that is going to be Hardy coming in at the last second with Crozen. Last second overtake. Takes the win of the race. Klapperbock all the way dropping to 3rd in a last-minute squabble and a last-minute mess-up. It's going to be Parabolica dropping the rears and dropping to the bottom of the podium. This puts Halliday still in that fight. This is a championship to remember.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff. We had a championship change in F3 at the Parabolica in real life, and now we've had it, moved on to another round in PSGL PCF2 at the Parabolica, and just ignoring the championship for a second, fantastic all the way to the line. Angelo, 56,000 behind Marco Soriano, 21,000 Piker Hardy to Crozen. So it was close all the way in multiple battles to the line. Absolutely phenomenal, vintage, brilliant PCF2.
Crozen with that last minute upset, not only putting the pressure on the other drivers in that podium spot, but it's going to now open up so many doors for the championship and so many other drivers to get their foot in, as we are going to see nothing but fireworks heading into Qatar. And here are your final standings. Crozen with a solid quali along with the other R8G drivers of Hardy and Klaffenbach make up your podium. But Suriano, major jumps here. P16 start, P4 by the end of it all. And Rishan doing much of the same magic. P19 start and then down into 7th by the closing lap of the race. Diortensio is going to make it into 5th with Halliday in 6th, but barely clinching on to the points, I do believe, if the commentator math serves correctly. Stevens, Lund and Hjeltsen close your top 10 with Cohen, Parodi, Lukumski having a bit of a wobble. Mackay and then Tope, Alves, Salsa, Godendorp and Pearson making your final finishers, with Staturer having to quit out early due to major desync and connection issues. Unfortunate that that did have to happen, but of course we do want to make sure we can comprehend the race that is happening. More importantly, and as much as I liked to joke earlier about sort of driving in another dimension, it was pretty tough to follow at points.
Yeah, definitely was pretty tough to follow, not only for us, but of course for those drivers as well. It could have, well, it did affect the race slightly with a few drivers getting a little bit of damage here and there, and then it's a little bit hard to judge the driver. Count Starcher could just spawn in front of you any moment, so it was definitely a tough one for all of those drivers in the field as well. But unfortunate for Count Starcher, it's a day off what could have been for him, having started on pole.
Yeah, it is really a day of what could have been for many drivers, I think. I know for a fact that Halliday is not happy with their performance because they were looking to get a podium finish, but they were running with damage for a majority of the race. It's only going to come to light because of Statura's starts and some of the issues that arose as a result of that. It's of course an unfortunate situation, but sometimes, I say, it's a trapping of the game, and there's not really much that we can do in that regard. But say tensions are high in the F2 chat. Let's just say that and leave that there. Hopefully, we do get a chance to talk to some of our podium sitters. We haven't had much luck in the past couple of rounds, but we'll see if they are open to having a chat, because I'd love to hear the perspectives and what was going on, particularly in Klaffenbach's mind, because they were pushing so hard. They were giving it everything. And then that last second wobble at Parabolica cost the whole thing.
Yep, definitely would be amazing to get their thoughts. Indeed, as you mentioned, we haven't had the best of luck lately with that. However, it would be good to speak to our top three after a hectic race, which was predicted as well at the Temple of Speed at Monza. But Qatar and Brazil coming up next as well. I think those are going to be two very fascinating, two very interesting races, especially Brazil. Brazil, whether we get a championship battle there or not, it's always hectic, it's always crazy, it's always chaotic, and a brilliant way to end off what has been an absolutely brilliant season into season 37 for PCF2.
Well, looking at the standings and the points that could be gained as a result of this, the important thing to note is that the championship is still mathematically up for grabs. Although, with that in mind, in order for such a concurrence to happen, it would require Klaffenbach majorly messing up the two races. So it's mathematically on the cards, but it's very likely we could see it be tied up in Qatar next time out. It doesn't look like we're going to get a chance to talk to any of our drivers, which is a bit of a shame. But with that all being said, folks, this has been nothing short of an electrifying race. We had a brilliant qualifying with drivers giving it 110% all the way to the very end. Staturo, of course, blowing it out of the park. And then a race to forget for them as issues beyond their control resulted in a retirement. But they have I know some drivers are going to be walking away from today very happy, but next time out is going to be none other than Qatar. The Losail International Circuit is going to be a unique driving challenge. It's going to echo a lot of the vibes to that of Bahrain and to an extent Abu Dhabi, but more importantly, it's going to be our penultimate round of season 37. And in fact, folks, I am just getting a bit of word that we do have one today. We are going to be hearing from none other than Klaffenbach. Let's see what he's got to say. Klaffenbach, can you hear us, my friend?
I can hear you guys, yeah.
Well, welcome to the commentary box, and I just want to say, brilliant performance out there today and securing P3 in the end. Why don't you sort of talk us through tonight's race from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, in the first medium stint, it was just trying to get into the top three, just preparing basically for the hard stint, and then yeah, it was just basically every time we tried to like get the cars behind us out of the DRS trainers, they were fighting quite a lot. And then yeah, in the last few laps, it was just preparing for the last final lap, and yeah, unfortunately couldn't win it in the end, but still decent result.
Yeah, so you still got on the podium. It was quite a solid result in and of itself. What happened those last couple of laps? Did it look like there was a lot of fighting, and it seemingly just at the very end there was a bit of a drop through Ascari, and you couldn't quite pull it back?
Yeah, I mean, Joris was doing some weird things behind me. Like he somehow, I don't know if he really wanted to overtake me or just make me lose like time to Taiko in front. But yeah, I mean, he like pushed me a little bit in his carry, or not pushed me, but I just didn't get a quite good corner, and then I fortunately had quite a gap to Taiko, and then on Lesmo 2 exit, I think I kind of lost the car a little bit, so it wasn't ideal as well, and then I just tried to make it stick around the outside. Unfortunately, Taiko hit me there, even though I think I left him enough space, but yeah, I guess that's just racing, and yeah, I will then secure the title next week, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've got 2 rounds left and quite a substantial points gap, even with that wobble at the end. I mean, how are you feeling heading into Qatar and eventually Brazil? Like, what are your opinions on those 2 tracks?
I feel like Qatar is quite a cool track, to be honest, on this game, even though the cards could be a little bit annoying. All in all, I will just try to do the same what I've done in the past few races and then get on the podium again and win it.
Looking forward to seeing it. Omi, anything from you?
Well, of course, while you may take the championship next time out in Qatar, of course, you'll be wanting to win both races and finish as high as possible. So, what's your thoughts on Brazil as well in the final run? How are you at the circuit?
Actually, I like Brazil as a track. I think I've done it was the first race I've done on this game. Since then, I've never touched it again, I think. So yeah, will be quite exciting, and yeah, I will probably do some like trying to do the last to first. I don't know what. We will see if I can secure the title next week. And yeah, but looking forward to the last 2 races, and yeah, we will see how everything is going.
Yeah, and I guess sort of one question I've had in my mind. Of course, we stand here, we stand proud with a substantial gap in the field relative to the rest of the championship points wise. Where do you see yourself going from here? So of course, it looks like you are going to be set to be the championship winner, and I know that we still have yet to fully seal it, but you have quite a strong points lead. So what would be your next steps if you have any right at this point?
Do you mean just for the next upcoming 2 races, or?
I mean, beyond the season.
I mean, to be honest, just yeah, basically win championship next race. Obviously, trying to do a safe strat and not risk anything. And then also, I want to win the WR Tier 2 title, even though it's probably not that like that much worth. But I still would like to win it. And then, obviously, after the 2 seasons, I would actually like to do more F1 and Tier 1 races in WR and PSGL, just get experience by each race, and then yeah, we will see.
Well, very much looking forward to it. It's a brilliant stuff out there tonight. Continue to hold a great track down, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Qatar brings.
Yep, thank you.
And there you go, folks. That was Klaffenbach, and a little bit of insight into the current championship leader's head state and the current mindset heading into the final 2 races. So that is where it's been amazing to commentate for you all, and of course support the people who support us. GT Omega Sim Racing Center. Use code PSGL for a healthy discount at checkout if you want to buy any of their products, and it does give us a little bit of support to keep running the things that we do here. I'm very excited for Qatar and for Brazil to round off the season, to crown a champion, and to see the kind of fights that the rest of this championship is going to hold for us for second, third, and beyond. But for tonight, folks, we are going to be signing off. Be sure to join us next time as we come to potentially the championship finale. Keep it here at PSGL. We'll see you next time. Good night.